Everyone. Hello, hello, everyone. Please welcome. Thank you so much for making time to see us here, to join us here. So we will wait a bit for more people to join us. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How are you, by the way, Lydia?
Hai, I'm fine. Gimana Fenty kabarnya?
Happy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, do you want to say hi to your friends here?
Hai semua.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so while waiting for others, so by the way, our talk will be like a switch between in Bahasa. I'll do my best to switch in Bahasa and also in English. Yeah, yeah, because we have some international friends joining us today. So glad to see everyone here. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think we can just start our live talk here. Dana Arya ya from Dr. Sutomo Hospital. Yay! Everyone is here. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. I think we can just start now, yeah, Lydia.
Oke.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for the time. So, my name is Fenty. I'm the founder of Gizi and Beyond. So, Gizi and Beyond is a platform to basically to help education about health and nutrition accessible for everyone. And for now, we have like some activity like what we're doing today. Like we invite professionals, PhD students, also researchers to share their knowledge, their wisdom, their experience to us. And we also have like creative doodling. It is for basically again to show the awareness to people about nutrition, and nutrition is, specifically, but we also share about health. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So by working on this initiative, we also have like a big goal to have kind of donation to help student underprivileged, yeah, by providing them coloring book, yeah, hopefully in the future. So we would like to ask your contribution to help us like crystallize our dream in the future. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So because I saw some international friends here, so that's why I'm talking in English. But don't worry, if you don't really get what I say, I'll do my best untuk switch in Bahasa and English, and feel free to interrupt during our talk. If you have any question, drop down below, or you want me to repeat in which part, just let us know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So today we have a very special and beautiful guest speaker today with us, Lydia Kustiningrum. So she is a dietitian from General Hospital, no, the regional General Hospital from Surabaya, Dr. Sutomo Surabaya, Indonesia. So she finished her last degree from Malang, Poltekkes Malang, and then she also graduated from Alma Ata University in Yogyakarta, and she is working in Dr. Sutomo. How long have you been working there, Lydia?
Hampir 6 tahun. Jadi saya
Okay,
di
for
Dr. Sutomo sudah dari 2019.
No way. So she has been working since 2019. So it has been like 6 years working as a dietitian in the hospital. And then today's topic, I would like to say hi to my professors here. So hello, Professor Chen. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Today's topic, we're going to talk about typical nutrition intervention in the hospital, how as a dietitian we manage the patient, not really manage, basically we taking care of the patient. So we want to focus on the two words. First is the high care unit, and then the second one is the low care unit, to help you have better understanding, which I'm not really sure about what these two different, the difference between these two. But all I can say, high care unit is one step down below intensive care unit. But the condition of patient, they are still in critical condition. Yes, but they maybe not like using fully support of medical equipment, but it is still necessary to monitor them, to give like the very intensive treatment for them. In the end, the low care unit, a step down below the high care unit, where the condition of the patient, it's more like stable. But still we need to monitor and observe more. And then we will talk more about these two different words in the hospital. And then here we have the dietitian. So maybe we can start from hang on, give me 1 second. Before we talk about this too deep, I'd like to introduce you guys, about our speakers today. So I was wondering about your experience, maybe Lydia. So when you're working in the hospital, did you already jump in this world, or maybe you can share a little bit about your experience working in a hospital?
Jadi emang saya kan sudah mulai kerja di Dokter Sutama ini dari 2019. Dan memang untuk penempatan di ruang perawatan intensif high care ini baru 2 tahun ini. Terutama di ruang penyakit dalam. Gitu. Nah, sebelumnya saya sudah pernah di ruang loker, di ruang perawatan bedah, ruang perawatan syaraf juga. Nah, paru juga pernah. Nah, ini baru di 2 tahun terakhir ini di ruang perawatan high care, dan ada satu lagi di ruang perawatan loker di penyakit dalam juga. Nah, kebanyakan untuk penyakit-penyakit yang ada di ruang perawatan ini ada diabetes dan beberapa komplikasi seperti gangguan fungsi ginjal, gangguan fungsi hati, dan ada beberapa penyakit lain yang terutama penyakit tidak menular yang di situ.
I see. Okay, let me just translate the thing that you're saying. So she's been working in the high care unit, or we can call it HCU. Itu for about almost 2 years now. But before that, she also experienced in another department, like taking care of patients, especially in neurologist, like the neurology area. Also, people who underwent surgery. I wish I know the proper term in English, but I hope that it does make sense for everyone here. Tadi bedah, right? Terus saraf, terus and many more. But selama, because it has been like quite sometimes. 2019 kan ya? Iya kan ya? Iya. And then she also that is so true. It was like the period, the very first pandemic hit kan ya? It was the very first time you work in
masa itu.
Oh my goodness, bless you, sumpah deh. Itu kayak it was like very critical moment for everyone, and you work in the hospital, so man, itu luar biasa sekali kamu bisa, what is it called, kayak survive. I'm so proud of you. Also, she mentioned about the typical condition by meaning penyakit. or like disease yang commonly found in di mana tadi low care unit, right?
Oke.
Yeah, it's like people who have diabetes, Indian, kidney failures. Yeah, you mentioned about that also. Indian, what else guys? Sekitar itu ya penyakitnya ya.
Hmm,
Okay,
dan
okay,
untuk penyakit tidak menular sebenarnya.
okay,
Memang masih
okay.
banyak lagi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, now I wonder if you can tell us more. Tadi kan udah sedikit disinggung, like you mentioned a bit about HCU, ya, and LCU ini. I want you to tell us more about penyakit yang mungkin ada di HCU atau di LCU itu, yang di high care unit. Mungkin kondisinya seperti apa? Maybe you can share us a bit about it.
Jadi kan memang karena aku pegang dua ruangan ini, yang satu high care dan satu low care, tapi sama-sama masih di bawah penyakit dalam.
Okay.
Kurang lebih penyakitnya sama, cuman
Mhm.
perbedaannya kalau yang di high care ini kondisinya
Mhm.
memang lebih kritis. Jadi mereka
Okay.
rata-rata sudah ada ke gagal nafas. Jadi itu kondisinya sudah ada
Okay.
penurunan kesadaran juga. Sedangkan
Okay.
yang di low care ini kondisinya memang lebih stabil. Dia memang
Mhm.
kebanyakan membutuhkan perbaikan kondisinya aja. Jadi misalnya
Mhm.
dia pasien-pasien ini masuk dengan kondisi katakanlah diabetes dengan gula darahnya yang tinggi, dia
Mhm.
cuma butuh penanganan untuk penurunan gula darahnya, atau dia masuk
Okay.
dengan kondisi anemia. Nah, itu nanti
Mm.
dia butuh penanganan untuk transfusi darahnya gitu.
Okay.
Sedangkan yang di high care dia butuh perawatan lebih lanjut, dia butuh full dukungan oksigen, full ada
Mm-mm.
beberapa yang dukungan nutrisi juga
Okay.
gitu.
Okay. 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 Thank you so much. I'll do my best to repeat what you're saying. Yeah, helping some of my friends here, like our friends here, international friends. Yeah, because I couldn't see, by the way, like the people yang typical tadi tuh yang kalau udah lewat aja sih sebenarnya. Yeah, but I just want to repeat again. So the different characteristic from the patient. First, who what is it called, like hospitalized di HCU or the high care unit SCU itu basically in very critical condition, and then they can also like unconscious, like they don't, what is it called, like lost their conscious. Aduh,
Oh,
my bad, my
ya,
English bad. Yeah, yeah.
nggak sadar gitulah.
Yeah, exactly. Like consciousness. I feel like they
Iya.
don't have full aware. Yeah. My bad if I mention wrong word in English. Yeah, I hope that this still makes sense. And so they need like a lot of support by, like oxygen supply. Maybe in the end, some of them also they have a problem with the breathing. So itu tadi. So that's why the what is it called, like the treatment for the patient ini, some of them still needed a support from the medical equipment. Yeah. Terus what make it different with low care unit patient, basically for the typical penyakitnya hampir sama, semua internal medicine, yeah, it's almost the same. But here, again, in the low care unit, we try to maintain the stable condition for the patient. Yes, and then some of cases yang tadi Lydia mentioned, itu for people who have diabetes. Yeah, we support them to how to, what is it called, like have the stable condition of blood glucose. And then for the anemic patient, we can support with the blood transfer. Yeah, kayak gitu itu. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that I mentioned everything that you said. Yeah. So that's about the the characteristic from the patient from these two words. And I want to moving on to the, what is it called, like how nutrition, how the dietitian can have the roles, yeah, in these two words. Maybe you can share us about like step by step how you would taking care of the patient, like from the screening, like the assessment. We have a lot of term here, yeah, but yeah, we do our best untuk explain to you guys. Yeah, please Lydia, thank you so much.
Ya, jadi kalau di kedua ruangan ini, karena tadi kan yang satu high care, pastinya yang satu
Yeah.
butuh penanganan nutrisi yang lebih intens.
Okay. Yeah.
Akhirnya, yang high care ini butuh perhatian lebih khusus. Setiap hari dia butuh dikunjungi per pasiennya. Lebih seperti
Okay.
itu. Nah,
Alright.
untuk tahapannya pasti seperti biasa ya, ada
Yeah.
screening. Namun untuk screening di sini, karena di rumah tempat saya bekerja, ini masih antara tenaga medis. Screening ini dilakukan oleh perawat awalnya gitu.
Okay.
Jadi lalu screening dilakukan oleh perawat dulu karena screening harus dilakukan 1 kali 24 jam saat pasien
Okay.
itu masuk. Dan screening ini
Alright.
akan dilakukan di UGD dulu kan.
Alright.
Nah, pasien pertama datang di UGD baru ke ruang rawat. Nah,
That's
setelah di
true.
ruang rawat baru dari hasil screening itu pasti untuk pasien yang di high care itu beresiko tinggi malnutrisi.
I
Akan
see.
dilakukan asesmen untuk pengkajian data dasarnya, kemudian diberikan intervensi sesuai dengan kondisinya tadi.
Okay.
Nah, untuk yang low care ini kurang lebih sama. Screeningnya akan tetap dilakukan oleh dari keperawatan.
Okay.
Nah, kemudian tetap dilakukan asesmen. Nah, dilakukan intervensi juga dari masalah-masalah yang ada. Tapi bedanya nanti dari monitoringnya. Kalau yang di high care ini, otomatis saya monitoringnya setiap hari. Karena kondisi pasiennya bisa setiap hari berubah. Nggak selalu setiap hari. Bahkan sehari itu dia bisa berubah kondisi dari yang pagi ke siang sudah berubah. Termasuk dietnya bisa berubah. Sedangkan yang di low care ini terus dia cukup stabil kondisinya. Jadi mungkin untuk monitoringnya bisa sekitar 3 hari atau bahkan ada beberapa yang bisa dilakukan per 7 hari juga bisa. Namun tetap ada beberapa pasien yang butuh dilakukan monitoring per harinya juga ada. Nggak
I
menutup
see.
kemungkinan semua itu.
Okay, before you continue, I'd like to, like, what is it called? Like, restate what you're saying. Yeah, nanti sambil Lydia, like, maybe you want to, like, add more if I miss something. Yeah. So, how nutrition, like, what is it called? Like, conduct the intervention or maybe like managing the patient in high care unit words. It's first of all, the screening is always what is it called, like conducted by the nurse, yeah, because it is necessary to be done within the first 24 hours when a patient what is it called, like enrolled in intensive no, in apa sih, emergency unit, right?
Emergency unit.
Yeah, in emergency unit. So that's nurse helping us to do the screening by meaning to assess whether they need the, what is it called, like the nutrition treatment. Yeah, maybe I would say that. Yeah, I believe there's like a certain term for that. Yeah, but my bad, I should have looked up, like the term before our talk. Yeah, because it also has been very long time for me to not really, like touching this area. Okay, so compare also you're also saying about the monitor, what make it a huge difference between people who are in HU or in LCU, like the condition of the patient can change drastically within maybe within hours. In high care unit. Yeah, so it is required to be observed individually, so you need to taking care of them individually and then monitor their progress even every hour, maybe. And then for comparing people who are in low care unit, it can maybe the monitor process can be done even in 7 days, like it is not necessary for you to, like watch the entire time, right? Yeah, yeah. But some, you can also, what is it called? Like conduct that in 3 days, 3 days to 7 days. Seperti itu ya.
Yeah.
Jadi perbedaannya, like the different is the monitor. Like, I mean the monitor difference-nya juga, ini tadi kita ngebahas lagi perbedaan lagi, like how we conduct the nutrition, what is it called? Like a treatment. I don't have a better better term for what
Nutrition
we
treatment.
discussed today. Iya, tapi mudah-mudahan ini apa ya, mewakili deh kata-katanya. Iya, iya, iya. So itu tadi bagian screening. I wonder what type of the screening that you use. I know like this is very typical in very hospital, will be very different. Yeah, but in your hospital, in Dr. Sutomo Hospital, what kind of screening yang digunakan? Yeah.
Kalau di kita jenis screeningnya yang digunakan yang MST, Malnutrition Screening Tools.
Okay.
Ya, jadi cuman satu screening itu aja untuk dewasa. Pembedaan screeningnya cuman di bagian dewasa dan anak.
Okay.
Itu aja. Jadi semua pasien dewasa, entah itu high care, entah itu low care, pasti pakai MST semua.
Okay, so for adults, no matter they will be treated in HCU or LCU, the dietitian will use the MST. Yeah, but for the children, what do you use?
Kalau yang screening anak itu, bener.
Itu really ini ya, apa ya? So perbedaannya hanya di like the range of age aja ya, nggak yang not like not situational like the type of disease-nya.
Iya, memang seperti itu. Karena itu tadi kembali, karena kan di kita itu yang melakukan screening kan keperawatan. Jadi kalau kita menggunakan beberapa macam jenis screening yang ada, akan lebih sulit untuk dilakukan penggunaan screeningnya. Mereka akan sulit karena mereka akan mikirkan untuk pasien ini nanti beda lagi, pasien ini beda lagi. Malah kan itu tidak akan dilakukan. Jadi lebih baik pakai satu screening itu aja.
Okay. Yeah, so she's saying that
anak-anak kita pakainya yang strong kids.
Strong kid. Okay, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so by the way, because the screening process itu we got the help from nurses, yeah, because they're always there, like 24 hours in the hospital. But nutritionist or dietitian, yeah, we're not. Yeah, so to make things like simpler, yeah, not too complicated. So that's why itu sama. We perform it like the same for and also differentiate them by the different of age aja. So for children, they use strong kid, and then for adults, they use MST, and it's only apply very specifically in Dr. Sutomo Hospital. Yeah, and it can be very different rules. Yeah, in other hospital. Yeah, because we have lots of screening tools. Yeah, to help assess the patient condition. Yeah. We still have more question. Yeah, I would learn more. Yeah, about the difference between these two words. So tadi kita udah tahu soal screening, terus jenis penyakit, terus asuhan gizinya itu, monitor tadi juga udah lumayan dibahas. Yeah. So I'd like to focus on high care unit treatment. So I was wondering about the intervention by how you feed people who have, like less consciousness or they're unconsciously. Gimana mereka bisa like makan, how they can eat. Yeah, I was wondering about that. And ada dua tipenya, ada internal sama parenternal. Yeah, maybe you can share about them, about these two method, or maybe ada metode lain untuk help them to eat basically. Yeah, can you please share that?
Nah, untuk pemberian nutrisi ini, saya juga nggak sendirian ya untuk melakukan intervensi. Juga ada
Oke.
kolaborasi dengan dokter juga, terutama untuk nutrisi
Oke.
parental ini.
Mm-mm.
Pastinya ya.
Iya.
Kalau nutrisi enteral itu bisa lihat dulu dari kondisi pasiennya.
Oke.
Untuk pasien yang penurunan kesadaran,
Mm-mm.
itu pun belum tentu juga bisa langsung diberikan nutrisi enteral karena ada beberapa kondisi seperti kayak dia belum terpasang NGT. Pasti
Oke.
kan aksesnya belum ada tuh. Atau
Mm-mm.
misalnya dia sudah terpasang NGT, aksesnya udah ada,
Mm-mm.
tapi ternyata dia ada kondisi khusus kayak dia terjadi hematemesis atau dia masih ada pendarahan di lambungnya sehingga harus dibersihkan
Oke.
dulu. Nah, itu
Oke.
nanti akan dipuasakan dulu, tidak bisa masuk nutrisi enteralnya. Otomatis akan diberikan nutrisi parenteral dulu kan. Nah,
Oke.
juga ada beberapa kondisi yang udah bisa tuh masuk nutrisi enteral, tapi dia nggak bisa maksimal. Ini
Mm-mm.
beberapa terjadi kebanyakan di pasien-pasien dengan kondisi kegagalan fungsi ginjal. Karena pasien-pasien
Oke.
ini dia ada pembatasan di pemenuhan cairannya. Otomatis pasien-pasien
Mm.
dengan pembatasan pemenuhan cairan,
Mm-mm.
pemberian nutrisinya juga akan terbatas, nggak akan bisa maksimal untuk pemberian nutrisinya. Gitu. Nah, ini yang sampai
Oh.
sekarang juga saya masih sulit. Akhirnya pun kebutuhan basalnya
Oke.
dia belum bisa terpenuhi karena ada yang sehari cuman katakannya cuman bisa masuk 600 mili cairan. 600 mili
Oke.
cairan pun itu harus ada dari nutrisi parenteralnya juga atau dia harus
Mm-mm.
dikasih rehidrasi cairan dulu. Nah, ini dari nutrisinya cuman bisa masuk sekitar katakan 6 kali 50 mili sehari. Itu sekitar 300 mili. 300 mili kalau cuman 1 kilokalori per 1 cc, dia cuman bisa masuk sekitar 300 kilokalori.
Oh my goodness.
Tuh.
Okay. Right. Oh, wait a second. There's so many things that like happening right now. Yeah. So technically, you collaborate. Like you don't do all the job by yourself, like with the doctor. Yeah. And it also depends on the condition of the patientnya, gitu itu. Oh, tapi before we further discuss about it, can you maybe give us like the what is it called, like brief explanation about internal sama parenternal ini apa sih differentnya? What make it different these two things? Just the briefly.
Kalau
Mhm.
nutrisi enteral kan kita pemberiannya lewat NGT, nasogastrik
Yeah.
tube,
Okay.
atau bisa juga jejunostomi. Nah,
Mhm.
kalau yang parenteral itu kan diberikannya lewat intravena. Nah, untuk
Okay.
pemberian cairan intravena ini pastinya pertama harus ada kolaborasi dari dokter.
Okay.
Jadi mereka yang menentukan. Kebanyakan
Mhm.
dari kita ahli gizi,
Mhm.
kita cuma bisa memberikan saran. Misalnya
Okay.
kita untuk pasien dengan beberapa kondisi kita butuh pemenuhan nutrisi yang agak tinggi. Jadi kita cuma bisa menyarankan untuk minta pemberian nutrisi parenteral yang kalorinya agak tinggi atau cari yang protein agak tinggi supaya kebutuhan nutrisi pasiennya ini bisa tercukupi.
Okay.
Gitu. Nah, kalau untuk nutrisi enteralnya yang
Mhm.
pemberian lewat nasogastrik kebanyakan basicnya pasti dari susu ya
Mhm.
atau
Okay.
dari apa mixer, makanan mixer. Nah,
Okay.
itu kita bisa memberikan intervensi dan nanti kita bisa kolaborasi dengan dokter. Kita komunikasikan dengan dokter mau dikasih
Mhm.
diet yang seperti apa jenis enteralnya. Kan ada beberapa jenis makanan enteral tuh
Okay.
dari jenis prinsip dietnya. Bisa ada yang untuk DM, untuk yang
Okay.
pasien butuh tinggi protein atau pasien yang butuh rendah protein seperti itu.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so basically that is the method how patient will be feed ya, atau gimana how the food can enter their body ya. Kalau parenteral itu lewat intravena. Um, like vein ya, kayaknya like through your vein ya. Aduh, my bad, my English ya, my poor English ya. So basically like through the vein, dan itu of course we need the help from the doctors untuk mungkin what is it called, like maybe we can request like certain type of calories or protein yang bisa that can like what is it called, like can't be um, masukkan ke badan, bagaimana itu in English, basically to feed the patient ya. Maybe they have like certain medication yang bisa dimasukin lah ya, like certain medication that can, what is it called, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Drop down below, guys, if you don't understand what I'm saying. And then the second method, how we, like try to feed the patient is by using the internal method. We're using the nasogastric or NGIRI. Ya, itu basically the two types, the different type of food. Basically it's milk, yeah, milk, or we
Mixer
make the kind of,
feeding.
yeah, like formula, yeah. Or like you mix certain type of food gitu itu untuk
Ya,
dijadiin satu, ya.
dari nasi ada lauk hewani. Nanti di blender
Okay,
kita sesuaikan konsistensinya dari
I see.
osmolaritasnya juga ada.
Okay. So from the food, basically, she blend everything. Yeah, it can be from rice. Yeah, and the source of protein. Yeah, maybe like fish. Yeah. Or ada satu cerita nggak sih? Or maybe can you not necessarily story, but I'd like you to share your, what is it called, like one type of mixed food that you make for people who underwent the internal feeding. Ya, mungkin kalau dari mix makanan tadi ya, basic mixer, apa tadi sebutannya dari Lydia?
Ya,
Ya, please.
mixer. Jadi kalau
Ya.
yang di rumah sakit
Mhm.
yang tempat saya ini, itu jenis pemberian nutrisi enteralnya lebih ke kombinasi ya. Jadi
Oke.
ada dari hospital made dan juga ada tambahan
Mhm.
dari formula
Oke,
komersialnya, formula
komersial.
pabrikan, susu pabrikan yang ada dijual di luar sana.
Oke.
Nah, itu kita combine. Jadi
Mhm.
pemberiannya bisa 3 kali dan 3 kali.
Oh,
Karena kan
terima.
pemenuhan dari dapurnya nggak
Mhm.
mungkin bisa 6 kali full enteral
Iya,
hospital made ya, karena ada
iya.
keterbatasan dari pemberiannya, jam-jam pemberiannya itu tadi.
Mhm.
Nah, untuk yang dari hospital made ini, kita ada yang basic dari susu, dibuat
Oke.
kita olah, diberikan tambahan protein dan lain-lainnya. Dan
Mhm.
kemudian ada tadi yang dari bentuknya mixer feeding. Itu mixer
Oke.
feeding tuh kita bahan-bahannya emang agak kompleks ya. Jadi
Mhm.
ada dari nasi, lauk hewani yang
Hmm.
kita buat dari daging,
Oke,
kemudian
wow.
ada
Fish.
tambahannya
Mhm.
telur, kacang,
Oh,
sayur.
oke.
Itu di-mixer jadi satu memang.
No
Tapi tentunya
way.
perhitungan dari itu semua udah kita hitung supaya bisa masuk ke nasogastric and GT-nya tadi.
Okay, yeah. So from her experience, there's two type of food untuk yang pemberian for internal feeding. Yeah, it can be commercially, like a product commercially. They can use that. Basically, it's milk. Yeah, it's like milk powder. Yeah, or at least specifically Dr. Sutomo Hospital itu combine commercial product, the use of commercial product and also hospital made. And the hospital made-nya ini again combination of milk, rice, and also meat, fish, vegetable, yeah, even eggs, yeah. So they blend everything together, of course, yeah, with a very precise calculation, with the patient needs, yeah. So they just don't randomly blend everything, of course not. Yeah, there will be, like certain calculation to basically to fulfill the needs for the patient, and then they give it 3 times. I mean, they divide it into three times feeding. Yeah. So it's not like what is it, on only one time eating. It's just like maybe like normal people eat, ya, yang kita juga makan 3 kali sehari, but it depends on their
Enggak,
situation
untuk
atau
enteral
gimana.
6 kali.
Okay, six
Ya,
time. Okay. Jadi itu bisa 6 time. My bad.
iya 6
Ya.
kali.
Ya.
Kalau cuma
Jadi
3 kali nggak akan terpenuhi itu nanti
okay.
kalorisnya.
Okay. I see. So she mentioned that 3 times eating not enough, yeah. Because again itu udah kayak like maybe because it's like, what is it called, like concentrate. Even though it is concentrate, it is liquid. Tapi it is impossible ya untuk give it in only 3 times. It will be a lot of food like the patient need to consume ya untuk digest kalau hanya untuk 3 times. So that's why you break it into 6 times to fulfill their needs. Also not too overwhelming, nggak terlalu banyak banget setiap every time you feeding them. Ya kayaknya mungkin diberikan sampai 6 kali because of that reason. Ya
Bahkan
ya ya.
ada kadang yang sampai 8 kali juga ada.
No way.
Ya,
So
8
even
kali,
8 times.
12 kali juga ada.
Like, yeah, yeah.
Kalau yang 12 kali ini biasanya lebih ke pasien anak-anak sih.
Okay,
Pemberian
yeah,
per 2
12 times.
jam. Tapi
Mm.
untuk per mili pemberiannya lebih ke kecil-kecil memang.
Okay. So for the children, it can be also divided into 12 meal times. Interesting. Interesting. Iya. Is it fair to say kayak aku tadi menyampaikan mungkin supaya nggak overwhelming, maksudnya bisa nggak terlalu banyak. So that's why you divided into that window time, gitu.
Iya,
Itu
ada
dibagi ya
pasti.
kan ya.
Ada
Iya, maksudnya di
3 jam. Untuk yang pemberian 6 kali ini pilihannya bisa per 3 jam atau per 4 jam pemberian memang.
Oke, ya supaya nggak terlalu banyak ya itu tadi ya seperti itu tuh.
Karena nanti
Oke.
akhirnya jadi beberapa kasus tuh, jadi memang
Nggak
kondisi orang
dimakan.
tuh beda-beda ya. Ada yang dikasih per 3 jam tuh bisa terima. Ada yang diberikan per 3 jam dia masih belum bisa terima. Jadi akhirnya dia kembali susunya, belum bisa dicerna di lambungnya.
Oh my goodness.
Gitu.
Okay, yeah. So basically, it depends on the patient condition. Sometimes you can apply like 2 hour window, every 2 hour window, or 3 hours windows, or 4 hours windows. Yeah, karena if you give it only in very what is it called in small quantities, tapi apa ya itu tadi tidak bisa diterima malah yeah, it will not be meaningful the nutrition treatmentnya. Okay. Very much interesting. Ya, itu tadi soal internal and parental, what is it called, like feeding. So, speaking dari tadi, like you keep mention, like I heard a lot you mentioned about your experience, a bit like story about your patient. So I want to know more about what is the most challenging, like patient from how long again? Like 8 years, yeah?
Ya,
Hang on. Yeah, 8 years
6
working in
tahun.
the clinical area. Yeah. Can you maybe share us like the most challenging situation where you should help a patient in which words, and how was it like how was it meaningful for you? Yeah, yang terberat gitu itu.
Yang terberat ya,
Nah,
apa
yang
ya, banyak banget sih.
terberat.
Yang
Oh,
sekarang tuh
you have a lot. Oh
udah
no.
yang paling bikin sedih tuh sebenarnya sekarang banyak banget. Ini kan udah mulai pergeseran ya. Jadi kondisi penyakit degeneratif ini kan kalau zaman dulu penyakit degeneratif cenderung menyerang ke orang-orang yang sudah katakan lebih tua ya dari
Iya,
kita.
iya,
Sedangkan sekarang sudah mulai
generation.
pergeseran, penyakit degeneratif ini sudah mulai menyerang ke orang-orang yang ya kondisi umurnya masih sekitar 30 tahun, bahkan 20 tahun pun ada.
Oh my
Bahkan
goodness.
belum lama ini aku sudah terima beberapa pasien diabetes dengan kondisinya yang KAD atau ketoasidosis
Iya, oke.
diabetik.
Iya,
Itu di
iya.
mana kondisi gula darahnya sangat tinggi, bahkan bisa nggak terbaca kadang. Itu
Hah?
umurnya masih muda, masih 30 tahun. Ada yang 29 tahun, itu juga ada.
Oh my God. Hey, what do you mean by you cannot even assess like the high blood glucose-nya? It cannot be detected? Is it possible to have that kind of
Ya,
condition? No
iya.
way.
Dan itu
That is
masih
so
muda,
scary.
gimana itu dulu sering menyerang ke orang-orang yang umurnya sudah lebih tua dari kita. Sekarang sudah banyak bergeser semua itu. Itu yang paling bikin
Alright.
sedih. Dimana dulu satu ruangan HCU itu banyak diisi oleh katakanlah umurnya, kategori umurnya di atas 50, di atas
Okay.
40. Sekarang bisa
Okay.
hampir separuh bednya itu berisi orang-orang yang umurnya 20 tahunan, 30
Hmm.
tahunan. Itu yang bikin lebih sedih lagi.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so she's saying that the most challenging one, I think it's more like heartbreak. heartbreaking. Yeah, heartbreaking because she used to, like treat patient who were seniors, yeah, like their age around like 50s, like they're around 50s, 50 years old. Yeah, but right now almost in one room in the high care unit, she saw many younger generation, and then they can be like from 20s, there can be from 30s. 20s is crazy. 20 tahunan itu,
Mm-mm.
it's really very young of age, and then they already have like a very severe
Mm-mm.
condition yang tadi like you mentioned. You cannot even detect the blood glucose
Mm-mm.
number level, ya, levelnya lagi udah you cannot even assess it. That is very sad. Yeah, also heartbreaking banget. So jadi the characteristic of the patient ini ya yang
Mm.
benar-benar surprising,
Surprise
also
banget.
very,
Tapi kalau
yeah,
yang
very
20
really
tahun ini
sad.
ada beberapa yang autoimun, itu juga lagi tinggi banget sekarang. Autoimun,
Okay,
SLE.
autoimmune. Okay. Oh my goodness, itu in very very young age,
Iya.
20. Oh my god, oh my goodness, man. Terus, I wonder if ada, do you have any like maybe stories like experience when you deal with patient and it's memorable by meaning I know it's hard to like think about a good moment or like maybe yeah, kayaknya pengalamannya kalau di hospital I feel it's more like sad, yeah, because
Iya.
it's all
Ada.
about yeah, right gitu. But do you have something memorable, like memory? Yeah.
Ada.
Without the way. Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Can you share us a bit about it?
Itu ada dulu waktu zaman masih di ruang perawatan COVID ya.
Okay.
Jadi ini
Oh, yeah.
lagi-lagi ke pasien yang umurnya masih muda. Dia umur 20 tahunan, sekitar 20 tahunan. Dia awalnya itu dari sakitnya ke diabetes tipe 1. Diabetes tipe 1,
Okay.
kemudian dia mengalami beberapa komplikasi juga.
Okay.
Akhirnya sampai ke kondisi penurunan kesadaran.
Alright.
Dia nggak sadar, sudahan. Dia masuk ke ruang perawatan karena waktu itu COVID ya. Akhirnya kan ruang perawatannya isolasi, di mana nggak ada keluarganya sama sekali yang bisa nungguin. Dan waktu itu kondisi malah satu keluarganya dia ini diisolasi semua juga. Dan dia ini
Oh my
butuh penanganan
God.
khusus di mana
Yeah.
semua diet yang kita kasih
Mm-hmm.
itu nggak ada yang bisa diterima sama dia. Jadi akhirnya masuk makanan nggak lama gula darahnya malah turun. Itu kondisi diabetes yang berbeda kan. Nah,
Yeah,
masuk
and also
makanan
it's very
gula
dangerous, right?
darahnya malah
Yeah.
turun.
Iya,
Itu
maksudnya even though the iya, meskipun itu lower the high the
lower
blood
banget.
sugar, ya,
Bisa
itu
sampai
juga
40 sekitar segituan.
itu juga a very dangerous
Iya.
situation, right?
Heeh.
Gitu. It
Heeh.
doesn't mean good. Oh my goodness. Terus.
Meskipun udah dikasih, jadi kan untuk pemberian nutrisi parenteralnya kan juga ada ya, ada namanya D5%, D40. Dia diberikan seperti itu, cuman bertahan gula darah normal tuh bentar aja. Terus habis
What do
itu
you
gak
mean by
jauh, dia turun
sebentar
lagi
aja?
gula darahnya.
What do you mean by sebentar aja? Like few
Mm,
hours?
mm.
Oh
Terus akhirnya turun
my God.
lagi. Nah itu yang aku bilang, akhirnya dia harus diberikan makanan itu tiap 2 jam masuk. 2 jam
Oh,
makanan masuk. 2 jam itu per 2 jam itu tetap ya, tapi lewat NGT sih. Itu 2 jam susu, terus tambahannya ada jus, kemudian susu lagi. Itu perencanaan, bener-bener perencanaan nutrisinya itu per hari bisa berbeda hitungan. Akhirnya yang awalnya cuman dikasih jenisnya susu, dicari susu yang diabetes nggak bisa, dicari susu yang tinggi akhirnya karbohidratnya untuk penanganan gula darahnya dia yang low terus. Kemudian setelah diberikan susu yang jenis seperti itu juga gula darahnya beberapa hari kemudian tetap nggak bisa terkontrol, malah low lagi. Sampai ditambahkan gula, jenis gulanya juga aku harus mikir tuh gula apa. Sampai karena nggak ada keluarganya. Dan kita kan di gizi kan kasus seperti itu kan nggak banyak ya. Jadi untuk bahannya juga akhirnya kan nggak tersedia
Limited,
kan. Dan
limited.
sulit sekali
Also, it's during
menyediakan bahan
COVID.
makanan khusus
Bener.
untuk satu pasien seperti itu.
Oh my
Akhirnya waktu
God.
itu aku sampai cari sendiri jenis gula buat dia itu. Karena
Who
keluarganya
was
nggak ada yang
that?
bisa nyariin. Ya,
Apa itu gulanya?
waktu itu pakai gula fruktos jenisnya.
Fructose. Oh my God. So,
Iya,
like you personally, like order, like do the purchase just for one single patient. Oh
untuk
my
satu
goodness.
pasien itu.
Ya ampun. Itu padahal diabetes ya
Ya,
beliaunya.
diabetes
Tapi dikasih
diabetes tipe
fructose.
1. Masih muda dia
Hmm.
itu dulu itu.
Oh
Umurnya
my.
sekitar 26 tahunan kalau nggak salah.
Astaga.
Tapi
Oh
awalnya memang
my
dari
God.
diabetes tipe 1
Ya.
sih. Terus komplikasi gitu.
Karena ya also during the
Dan itu
COVID.
bener-bener
Mm-mm.
satu pasien itu yang penanganan medisnya tergantung ke nutrisi. Karena dari dokter
No.
pun itu sudah dari semua pemberian parenteral, cairan, itu nggak bisa support dia. Akhirnya dari dokternya pun udah bilang, Mbak ini nggak bisa, ini cuman bisa tergantung sama nutrisi yang kamu kasih untuk dia.
No
Tuh.
way.
Bener-bener satu itu dulu.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. So from your story, I think we can also, like learn how actually a dietitian play important roles because we never know, yeah, like in this condition like type 2, like not type 2, type 1 diabetes itu udah sebenarnya itu kan udah genetically dari patientnya sendiri dan biasanya dengan medication ya, like the condition mostly will lebih lebih ada efeknya. Yeah, it can be more, what is it called, like impactful by medication from the doctor, but in that case itu very depend on the diet that you conduct, that you perform to the patient. Oh my God. And for how long she or he was treated um, di high care unit itu, that patient itu sampai berapa lama?
Itu
Until for how
dia
long?
bertahan sampai dia keluar dari isolasi itu ada hampir 2 bulanan. 2 bulan dia
2
bertahan. Ya,
months. 2 months long. Oh my
iya.
goodness.
Itu
Oh
hitungannya
my
lumayan
God.
lama untuk jenis pasien seperti itu. Sampai
And
pindah,
then
sampai pindah
dia
ruangan
masih muda
ya.
ya. Kan she or he itu pasiennya,
Iya.
and she was still young. Ya ampun, dengan kondisi seperti itu ya, itu 2 bulan seperti itu. Oh my God, in isolated care unit ya, mungkin sebutannya saat itu. My God, my God. So it was the very memorable karena you have to give full attention every
Oh,
day, changing the diet. Yeah, changing the diet just for one single patient. Yeah, saat itu, and it was during COVID. Man, I'm so proud of you, Lydia. Really, I'm very proud of you. Yeah, so you're such a, like a very inspiring dietitian. And then I think we cover all question here already. Yeah, so I'd like just what is it called? Maybe wrap up atau kayak what is it called? I'm sorry, kayak aku di sini feeling like confusion between bahasa, between English. So my brain can't function properly, but I still do my best. Yeah, I'll try to wrap up the things that we had, like our discussion today. We talk about the different characteristic from patient who are treated in HCU or high care unit with the low care unit. Basically, they have the same problem. They are all in internal medicine. What make it different is the condition of the patient. Yeah. Also, at the feeding, yeah, we talk also about baru aja about the how to feed them using the NGRI and also by VN atau intravena. I need to look up the term in English. Yeah, maybe after this talk, I will give some note to share to our audience what I mean by that. Yeah, supaya nggak salah term. Terus we also learn about the step by step how you perform the nutrition treatment. Yeah, from the screening process at the beginning, we need the help from the nurse. Yeah, to do the assessment to analyze whether the patient need the nutrition. What is it called, like intervention, whether it is needed or not. And in Dr. Sutomo Hospital, you use MST, yeah, for the screen for adult, and you only make it different with the range of age-nya aja. For the children, you use the strong kids ya tadi. Terus habis itu, oh, I think I missed one question about a diagnose. Yeah. Yeah. I just remember right now. So can you tell us a bit more what make it different with diagnose from the doctors and from the dietitians?
Kalau perbedaannya pasti ada ya. Kalau yang dari diagnosa medis, yang dari dokter, itu kan lebih menggambarkan ke penyakitnya si pasiennya ya. Dan
Okay.
diagnosa itu akan menetap selama
Mhm.
keluhan atau
Mhm.
si penyakit itu masih menetap di pasien. Sedangkan di diagnosa gizi yang kita berikan,
Mhm.
itu bisa berubah sewaktu-waktu sesuai kondisi
Okay.
pasiennya. Dan
Okay.
lebih menggambarkan ke keluhan terkait akses makan, kemudian keluhan terkait makanannya juga. Ada
Okay.
juga kita bikin diagnosa juga terkait si penyakitnya itu juga. Tapi untuk diagnosa terkait penyakit lebih ke akhirnya kombinasi.
Okay. What do you mean by combination?
Salah. Kombinasi antara tenaga. Jadi NC, a nutrition combination, di mana kita kombinasi dengan tenaga medis lain, terutama dokter ya.
Okay.
Perubahan
Alright.
nilai labnya itu.
Oh, okay.
Ya kan?
Yes. All right. So basically, what make it different, a diagnosis from dietitian and also from the doctor, the diagnose from the doctor, it's like saying the kind of disease, and it's actually for permanent situation. Yeah, because it's like underlying condition. But what make it different with dietitian or nutritionist? I think it's more like dietitian, ya. Itu lebih ke diagnosnya, it can be changed. Yeah, so it's something temporarily. Yeah, it depends on the situation or condition of the patient themselves. Like if they're progressing by meaning like the way they accept the food. Yeah. The diagnosis will change from time to time. Again, it what is it called? It is require the monitoring, yeah, from the condition of the patient, yeah, and also it has something to do not only from the disease, but how the patient can accept the food they how they can accept the food or how can they accept the treatment gitu itu. Jadi it's not only by the disease.
Ya,
So
contohnya
that's
kayak diagnosa inadequate oral intake lah. Inadequate
okay.
oral intake kan bisa jadi saat awal pasiennya masuk ya, katakanlah karena si pasien ini ada kondisi mual, muntah, akhirnya kan oralnya inadequate kan.
Okay.
Setelah beberapa hari dilakukan treatment, bisa dilakukan perubahan intervensi terkait bentuk makanannya. Akhirnya kan dari inadequate ini dia akan membaik. Asupan makannya mulai membaik, bahkan bisa memenuhi target yang kita berikan. Akhirnya diagnosa inadequate oral intake itu kan bisa hilang.
Oh iya.
Sedangkan kalau diagnosa dari dokternya, katakanlah paling gampang ya, diagnosa diabetes plus hipoalbumin. Nah, diagnosa ini kan akan menetap sampai akhir. Kalaupun katakanlah diagnosa hipoalbuminnya hilang, itu pasti pasiennya kan akhirnya sembuh dan dia pulang.
Okay.
Sedangkan
I
kalau
see.
gizi, meskipun dia asupan inadequate oral intake-nya ini hilang, belum tentu kan pasien ini akan pulang.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That is so true. That is very valid. Yeah. Jadi it really depends on the progress dari pasiennya. Ya, jadi kalau if it's like progress and then it improve, then the diagnosis of nutrition ini will change ya automatically, but it doesn't mean pasien ini kayak completely heal atau fully recover
Fully
ya gitu
recover
itu.
ada.
Iya, iya, iya gitu itu like I mean, by meaning disease-nya mungkin belum, tapi for the situation dari gizi, aspek gizinya mungkin udah membaik gitu. So that's why it keep changing.
Ya,
Ya, jadi let's say itu tadi mungkin yang 2 months isolated patient tadi, mungkin diagnosanya gizi itu akan beda banget from the day one dia
beda
di
banget.
isolation room, right? Sampai 2 months-nya. Yeah, but for diagnosis from the doctor will be consistently the same. Apa sih situasinya itu tadi type 1 diabetesnya at least gitu itu. Tapi from the dietitian itu akan changing. Yeah, over the time,
Yes.
over the progress of the patients. No way. That would be a very amazing question to, to conclude our talk today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really, thank you so much for the awesome, experience. Also, thought in the end. Most importantly, knowledge. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, do you want to say something though? As of for the closing, do you have something to say untuk our apa ya? Let's say closing statementnya. Mungkin Lydia mau sampaikan sesuatu atau
Apa ya?
no?
Lebih ke untuk kita semua aja sih.
Okay.
Karena lihat kondisi yang seperti ini ya, yang sering saya lihat belakangan, kita sebagai yang masih muda-muda ya, terutama baik-baiklah jaga kesehatan, mulailah
Yeah,
rajin olahraga, mulailah jaga makan, nutrisi yang kita masukin,
yeah,
supaya paling nggak kita tetap sehat lah sampai
yeah,
nanti umur kita menua
yeah.
gitu.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, because as you mentioned previously, nowadays, see more younger generation di Bangsal High Care Unit. Yes, you used to see seniors, but now more younger generation even in their 20s. Yeah, jadi ini so heartbreaking, so please stay safe guys, and also we should have like better awareness to keep our health, ya, untuk maintain our health, and so we can stay healthy ya sampai nanti di usia tua. Ya, itu penting sekali. Thank you so much for the wonderful closing statement. I would love to, like invite you again to more in more time. Yeah, in the future. In more time sih. Kayak agak sedikit aku masih belum in English mood ini kayaknya. Thank you so much sekali for
Iya,
the time.
sama-sama.
Yeah, Lydia. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who join our talk today. Aku tadi nggak begitu nge-record siapa aja. Yeah, so we should meet again another time. Ya, keep in touch. Ya, ya, ya. So itu aja. Kita akan ketemu di live talk series di episode berikutnya. Terima kasih atas waktunya. Thank you so much Lydia. Please stay healthy. Selamat berpuasa. Ya, selamat
Selamat
berpuasa
berpuasa juga
juga untuk
semua.
teman-teman semua. Ya, ya, ya. Aku tutup ya. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.